Balake. Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Blake? What? Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Ron.
And once again, I messed up by not bringing myself on screen. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Ron is here. Welcome for more SPTV, where every day's a great day not to be in a cult. Okay, I wanted to do a little bit of a response video to 3 of the hate videos, attack videos that Scientology has produced about me. These are not new videos. These videos have been on the website they created about me for a long time. But I was perusing them recently, and I remembered that I also had documents relating not only to these people, but to the incidents that they talk about in the videos. They also tend not to use hardly any specifics or details about these incidents that they refer to. And yet, because the documents that I have are extremely meticulously written Scientology knowledge reports, I've got all the details, and I've even got emails, and I'm going to share them with you, and we're going to have fun. You know, Scientology's attack videos that they do on former members are really a thing of beauty. They are a sight to behold. They are amazing in the way that Battlefield Earth is amazing. They are so ridiculously bad that they're funny and fun to watch. And that is exactly why I watch them. One of the things that's interesting about all the attack videos that Scientology had done on me, particularly from people in the Sea organization, is for some reason, they have not done a single video with anyone who ever worked under me. And there might be one exception, meaning of all the videos that they had done about me by Sea Org members saying what a terrible Sea Org member I was. I think there might possibly have been one video from one of the people who worked under me. All of the other videos are from a couple of my seniors, and everyone else are from people who didn't even work in the same organization that I worked in. And it's just an interesting thing. And no one would know that listening to the videos because they act like they worked with me. They act like we worked in the same organization. They act like we were working side by side. I didn't even work in the same org as these people. And the fact that they don't have they either have 0 videos from anyone who worked under me or just 1 video is surprising, because the division of the organization that I worked in, that I was actually over, I was the division head of this division, had maybe 100 people in it. I had maybe 100 people working directly under me for about 4 years, and they only managed to get 1 of those people to do a video about me. Now, I'm not even parading that fact around as like, oh my God, that means they couldn't find anyone who worked under me who'd be willing to talk crap about me. Because the truth is, all of these people will straight up lie. They don't have to have a real story or a good story or an actual grievance. They will just completely lie. I don't actually have an explanation for why they haven't managed to get videos done by more people who actually worked under me, but it's interesting to note. We're going to start with Jon Lundeen. Jon Lundeen is a famous Sea Org member. He worked on the Apollo with L. Ron Hubbard. He worked at the Flag Land Base as one of the top financial guys. Like at one point, I think he might have been a registrar, but he also might have just been the Flag Finance Director. In any case, Jon Lundeen, because he worked on the Apollo, the original ship with LRH, because he worked at the Flag Land Base at a high level for many years, and because he was, when I worked under Jon Lundeen at the American St. Hill organization called ASHO, not to be confused with ASHO, that's a totally different organization. Jon Lundeen was actually the longest serving Sea Org commanding officer, actually in the history of the Sea organization at that time. He is no longer on that post of commanding officer of ASHO. I have heard he is now a letter registrar at Flag here in Clearwater, Florida, where I live. So for most of my time in the Sea Org, I was the technical secretary of ASHO, while Jon Lundeen was the captain or the commanding officer of ASHO. We had somewhat of a love-hate relationship. It was mostly positive. We're both very strong-headed and big personalities, and we would clash. But we pretty much would sort that out pretty easily between the two of us. Anyhow, When I left the Sea organization in 2004, I was actually no longer working for Jon Lundeen at that time. I had been promoted to the advanced organization. And so I stopped working for Jon Lundeen in 2003, left the Sea Org in 2004. 3.5 years later, after leaving the Sea Org, so 4.5 years later, nearly 5 years after the last time I worked for Jon Lundeen, I got an email from him apologizing to me for how he had handled things at the very end of my time at ASHO before I left ASHO and went to the advanced org. This is very, very unusual. There's no reason for Sea Org members to apologize like this to ex-Sea Org members. And remember, when at this time realized when I say ex-Sea Org member, I was still a Scientologist. I was just not in the Sea Org anymore. It was clear that Jon Lundeen was himself in trouble, because that's the only time a Sea Org member would do something like what in Scientology they would call repair of past ethics conditions, or RPECs. And they basically take Scientology's ethics conditions, which is the steps you have to do to fix things when you get in trouble, and you apply them to past situations. And it was clear to me that Jon Lundeen was having to address how he had mishandled things with me when I worked under him. I have that email for you. I'm going to share it with you, because you'll notice in this email, he actually says, you are a good Sea Org member and generally did a good job, and generally had good intentions and tried to make things better and succeeded in that. And then I'm going to play for you the hate video he recorded about me. So again, left the Sea Org in 2004. I get this email from, left the Sea Org in 2006. I get this email from Jon Lundeen in 2010. And then it is about 2017 that he sits down and records a hate video about me. All right, let me show you his email, guys. It's a little hard to read here, but it's as much as I can zoom in on Yahoo Mail. January 23rd, 2010. Dear Aaron, I trust this letter finds you well and that you are doing well. I wanted to communicate a few things to you that I hope are helpful to you. I wanted to let you know that I did think you were a competent executive, and I did appreciate your efforts to expand this org. You definitely had the intention to make things better and generally did. I loved your enthusiasm over the course rooms and the determination to bring them to standard. I wanted to let you know that when we parted ways, what I did and my handling of the situation wasn't correct, and there would have been a more correct way to handle, i.e., to have seen you personally and sorted out our differences, which we were on our own usually able to do. I again appreciate what you did while you were here, and I hope you and your family are flourishing and prospering. Much love, Jon Lundeen, Captain Asho Day. It is the standard closing in Scientology to say ML or much love. It's really something David Miscavige does, and then all other Sea Org members started copying him. I don't recall dispatches from L. Ron Hubbard closing that way, but I don't actually clearly remember. Yes, so in case anyone's wondering, much love, what's that about? Almost all dispatches, letters in Scientology end with much love, even if you're ripping the person a new butthole in the letter. Okay. I responded to him, and you'll see, I'm responding to him with respect and appreciation. I say, hello, sir. I appreciate hearing from you, and I appreciate what you have to say. Thank you. This is interesting, guys. This is like a look into the mind of a former Sea Org member here speaking to a current Sea Org member. I say to him, I look back on what happened, and I try to isolate exactly what could have gone differently. And as funny as it may sound, I attribute all of our early morning blowups to a lack of sleep on my part. I can experience just about anything with rudiments in. On the other hand, I'm capable of doing just about anything with rudiments out. All right, let me define this. In Scientology, rudiments generally refer to the things that have to be taken care of before an auditing session can begin. You have to be well fed and you have to be well rested. There's another rudiment, but it doesn't matter for this context. So saying my rudes are out generally means I'm not well fed, I'm not well rested, and I'm upset about something. And so that's what that means. And so in the Sea Org, particularly, you know, during my time in the Sea Org, I mean, I'd be lucky to get 5 or 6 hours of sleep at night. And, you know, we'd roll out of bed and, you know, usually late because we're not getting enough sleep, or not late, but, you know, running late. Roll out of bed, get ready and, you know, get dressed in 5 minutes, run downstairs and eat in 5 minutes, make it to morning staff muster with like 10 seconds to spare. Then right from staff muster, you've got to go collect all the stats from the previous night and then run into a product conference, which is just basically a meeting with the captain. And that's what all division heads had to do. I still have nightmares about waking up in the morning and showing up to product conference without my stats. Okay. And so what would happen is at morning product conference, all the div heads are reporting to the captain what the stats are for the day, what the cumulative stats are for the week, and whether that's up or down compared to the same day cumulatively the week before. And if the stats are down, the captain generally is going to antagonistically ask you what you're doing about it. And sometimes I wasn't well fed and well rested enough to be able to put up with Jon Lundeen's fucking bullshit at 8:30 in the morning after not having had enough sleep, rest, and food. Okay. So anyhow, that's why I say to him, I attribute all of our early morning blowups to a lack of sleep on my part. I can experience just about anything with rudiments in. On the other hand, I'm capable of doing just about anything with rudiments out. Like you said, we were always able to sort out our differences under normal circumstances. And the fact is, we didn't really have many when it came down to it. I look back on my time at ASHA with positive feelings. Heather and I are doing great. We have 2 little girls now, 3 and 1. Both Heather and my freeloader debts are paid. Heather's conditions are completed, and I hope to submit mine soon. Don't have much to complain about. Hope things are well with you. Thank you for writing. Sincerely, Aaron. I went with the good old-fashioned sincerely instead of much love. And then he sent me another response that was a little bit more putting his hat as a Sea Org member back on and establishing a little more seniority. Like, I hope you get your conditions handled and get back online soon and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so sounds pretty nice, right? I mean, sounds pretty nice. By the way, you guys notice the Scientology's hate videos about ex-Sea Org members. They never even say something like, yes, at a certain point, he went bad. All the hate videos are like, they were always bad. They were terrible from the very beginning. No one ever liked them. They never did anything good. And you're like, then why'd you keep them? Why did you promote them? Why did you this? Why did you that? Okay, so now, let's see what Jon Lundeen says. I'll share it this way and we'll look at it this way. And here's Jon Lundeen 7 years after sending me that email.
I refer to Aaron Asmithlevin as a snake oil salesman only because he had such an incredible ability to sell himself. And I'm really talking about it being a salesman of him. You know, it's like he would be very able to convince you he was your best friend, the nicest guy you've ever met. At the same time, on the opposite side, you know, you could sort of say Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He had a temper that was second to none. That was easily kindled. You know, it's like it didn't take a lot. He had a short fuse.
By the way, that's actually true. It's also completely true about Jon Lundeen as well.
One of the days I was holding a conference and Aaron Asmithlevin was there. He gave a comment.
I like how he says, I was holding a conference and Aaron happened to be here. He's literally talking about the mandatory morning meeting of all division heads that occurred 365 days a year.
It was immediately would make someone antagonistic. It was
guys, notice the lack of detail. And by the way, I'm not jumping in because I'm worried anyone, cares about any of these videos, but this is how my mind works. Notice the complete lack of detail. He's claiming to recall exactly what I said and what it was intended for and how it was designed to make him feel, but he doesn't tell you what I said. And I don't even remember what I would have said. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'll rewind this a second.
Communication was immediately, Aaron Asmithlevin was there. He gave a comment that was immediately would make someone antagonistic.
What was the comment? Tell everyone what was the, if it was so terrible and it was such, they were fighting words. They were, they were just, what was the comment, Jon?
It was a communication designed to upset you. So kept it cool.
By the way, in case anyone, just for further context here, you realize this product conference is the commanding officer, the deputy commanding officer, all executive secretaries. So the supercargo, the chief off, and the pub off, and all 9 div heads. So that's 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 14 people sitting around a conference table. And Jon would have you believe that I, as one of the most junior people at that table, because all the div heads are the most junior people, but we're all equal to each other, just randomly said something to start shit with my captain. I mean, it sounds like that's what he's saying here.
I went over again with him what was needed.
All right, guys.
Cool, to upset you. So kept it cool. I went over again with him what was needed. And
okay, I know it drives people crazy when I stop the video so many times, but I can't help it. I'm not sure who Scientology thinks the intended audience for these videos are. I'm not sure if it's more ex-Sea Org members or if it's current Scientologists, ex-Sea Org members, if it's non-Scientologists. I honestly sometimes can't quite figure it out. But Jon Lundeen would have you believe that in a product conference, which is a meeting that he is chairing, like this meeting is happening in his office at his conference table, that I, his junior's junior, would be insubordinate and rude to him in front of every executive in the org, and he would just calmly and politely respond to me. That is not how the Sea Org works, okay? You do not become a Sea Org commanding officer of an organization because you're kind, nice, polite, and patient. And when your juniors are getting a little lippy with you, okay? All right, let's keep going.
I went over again with him what was needed, and that it wasn't acceptable what he had just done. And he then got more angry. I said, "Can you please leave the room?" Quite nicely.
Okay, the reason why this cracks me up so much is because he doesn't need to say quite nicely. First of all, you can be damn sure that if the captain is kicking a division head out of the product conference, it is not going to be done nicely. I also don't think that anyone watching this video would care whether he did it nicely or not, because I'm the one apparently being a dick to him in front of everybody. He would be totally within his right to tell me to leave, not so nicely. It's just funny the weird color they add to these videos.
And I said, "Can you please leave the room?" Quite nicely, and he refused to leave the room. And at that point, then physically came in my direction to attack.
Okay. First of all, if you have been asked to leave the product conference, that is probably one of the best options. Okay. So because the alternative is for you to have to sit there around that conference table while the captain is yelling at you and demeaning you and insulting you, and you're having to sit there and take it in front of, close to 15 of your peers and org executives who are senior to you. That is miserable to have to endure that. So I guess what I'm pointing out here is, if the captain asked me to leave a product conference and the alternative was leave and be able to get on with my day, or stay and have to deal with more bullshit from him at a product conference, you can better be sure I would have just left. Also, he is about to say that I actually came for him and swung at him and hit him. That never occurred. It absolutely never occurred. I never did that to any person my entire time in the Sea Org. I've actually never done that to any person in my entire life, except maybe my brother. And even then, when me and my brother would fight, we always had a rule: no hitting in the face. All right, let's keep going. Uh-oh.
Tempted, then physically came in my direction to attack. He attempted to slug me in the face. Like, I did get hit. I did get nicked. You know, I was like,
now hold on. If you got hit in the face by your subordinate, you would remember that, right? That would be at the forefront of your mind, right? You wouldn't accidentally slip and say, he attempted to hit me, and then have to correct yourself and say, well, actually, he did a little bit. He did hit me a little bit. Believe me. But not only would he have very much remembered that he'd gotten hit in the face if he got hit in the face, but I would have been removed from my post. If that, it is acceptable in the Sea Org to use physical violence if you can justify that somehow it was needed in order to get your job done. Like, it is permissible. It is not permissible to physically attack a senior. You're never going to be able to say, oh yes, I had to rough him up or whatever because he was you could maybe, if you did that to a junior, you could sort of explain it that way. You could never get away with that with a senior, especially not a Sea Org member who had as much power as Jon Lundeen. So, I mean, this event just simply didn't occur, but let's see what he says.
I was faced. Like, I did get hit. I did get nicked. You know, I was like, I physically felt drained at the end of it. My staff, like, really, I mean, they were amazed that such a thing would happen. And, they were urging him to stop, and they were urging him, to leave the room, like end this craziness, Here's what you should know about Aaron Asmithlevin. Know that he will convince you very easily that he is sincere, that he is a good friend, that he's trustworthy, that he's responsible, that he has a long track record of getting production and products. And whatever he says, you can just consider it a lie.
And then you compare that to the email he sent me, where he literally says, I wanted to let you know that I did think you were a competent executive, and I did appreciate your efforts to expand this org. You definitely had the intention to make things better and generally did. I loved your enthusiasm over the course rooms and the determination to bring them to standard. I wanted to let you know, well, that's pretty much everything he said about me. And then he basically says, and interesting, because also there were many product conferences where Jon Lundeen came, I wanted to say to blows, but that might be an exaggeration, where Jon Lundeen escalated to physical confrontation with other Sea Org members. Sometimes it wasn't even his juniors. One time it was the flag rep. And what was my point here? I have at least 5 distinct memories over the 3 years I was at ASHO of the morning product conference devolving into physical confrontation, not myself, but Jon Lundeen escalating to physical confrontation. The particular incident that Jon is talking about, I actually don't even know which incident he's talking about. And I also don't know if the one that he's talking about would have been the final incident between me and Jon that led to me being taken off of that post and then ironically being promoted to the advanced organization and put onto full-time training and then becoming the cramming officer at the advanced organization of LA. What was my point here? Because when he says in this email, I wanted to let you know that when we parted ways. Now, obviously, parted ways refers in part to me being taken off of post. I actually do not remember what the specific incident is that led me to being taken off of post. It might have been one of these morning confrontations with Jon Lundeen. So it's not that there wasn't a morning confrontation. It's that there was never any incident that ever occurred in the exec office where I physically went after Jon Lundeen, much less ever took a swing at him, much less ever connected. Those things just didn't happen. But if this email is referring to that last major incident that occurred, he still says, I wanted to let you know that when we parted ways, what I did and my handling of the situation wasn't correct. Good Lord. if I, as his subordinate, went after him and physically punched him in the face, what in the world could Jon have done that would justify him now saying that what he did wasn't correct and his handling of the situation wasn't correct? And there would have been a more correct way to handle it. See, the story doesn't even make sense. If I had actually done those things, Jon should have gotten rid of me immediately. The whole Sea organization should have gotten rid of me. I should have been offloaded from the Sea Org if I was someone who would physically attack my commanding officer. Do you see what I mean? That's why I'm emphasizing that point. Is like, even Jon's own email indicates his story is total bullshit. And he even says, I should have seen you personally to sort out our differences, which we on our own were usually able to do. Huh. So it seems like at that product conference, we basically, came to some sort of a conflict with each other, although I do not recall it being physical. And you're saying that you should have come to me to sort it out, because in the past, we could always sort out our differences. It almost sounds like there was no physical attack. It almost sounds like the story he's trying to recount never really happened. Okay, so that was it for the Jon Lundeen stuff. The next fun one that we have here, I wanted to highlight 3 different ones, but I actually have 4 different ones pulled up. Which one should we do here? Okay. All right. The next one we're going to do is a video done by a Sea organization member named Angela Trentham. I'm trying to figure out. Okay. And when I watched Angela's video, I then was like, I remember I still have a bunch of reports that I had written on Angela. Let me go pull them up. I have 6 during the 3 years I was at ASHO, even though Angela and I did not work in the same organization. I worked for ASHO Day. She worked for ASHO Foundation, different orgs, different commanding officers, different stats, different shifts working in the same premises. I actually had 5 different reports that I'd written on Angela, at least 5 different knowledge reports over 3 years. What's interesting is that the very first report I ever wrote on Angela was after I had already been in the Sea organization for 1 entire year. And in the first report that I write on her, I actually say, I have never had a problem with Angela before whatsoever. So that means we were on pretty good terms for an entire year, which is one of the reasons the incident that led to the first report I ever wrote on her was a little startling. And I'm trying to decide whether to read for you the report that I wrote first or show you her video first. I want to read the report, just like I did with Jon. I showed you his email, then I showed you the video. So let me share this. Remember, guys, I was a professional report writer when I was in the Sea Org. I was like the #1 narc. I was a good little Scientologist. Okay, this is what a standard Scientology knowledge report looks like. There is so much Scientologies loaded up into this thing. I don't even know how much of it I'm going to try to decipher. But sometimes when I reread these reports, I'm so startled to be reminded at the level of detail I put into my reports. I almost want to go, who wrote this? But yeah. Okay, so on the top left, I am sending this report to the ethics section ASHO Day. Now that's weird. That's probably a typo on my part because I should be sending it to the ethics section ASHO Foundation. The report is being sent from the technical secretary ASHO Day, which is me, Asmithlevin. I'm sending a copy of the report to the director of inspections and reports for ASHO Foundation because that's the organization Angela works for. And I'm also sending a copy of the report to the flag data files. That's when you really want to tell on someone. You send it to the flag data files. That's the giant informational archive maintained at middle management. It's going into your official record. Okay, knowledge report, Angela Trentham. Her post was the St. Hill Special Briefing Course Officer, ASHO Foundation. Now, if Angela had worked in my org, which was ASHO Day, as the BC officer, she still would have been my junior's junior. So the director of training was under me as the technical secretary. And underneath the director of training is the SHSBC officer, or shortened to BC officer. And so not only would Angela be my junior's junior, but she actually works for a different organization. So she truly has nothing to do with me whatsoever. All right. And Angela was an officer in the Sea Org. In the Sea organization, your rank is not related to your post. My post was technical secretary. My rank was petty officer 3rd class. Angela's post was SHSBC officer. Her rank was midshipman. And in the Sea Org, it doesn't really matter what rank of officer you are. Officers are considered one tier of people, and petty officers are considered another tier of people. It gets a little weird when someone junior to you has a higher rank, but having a higher post is what really matters, not your rank in the Sea Org. Okay. That being said, Sea Org officers have sort of an extra duty to uphold the proper PR and discipline and beingness of a Sea Org member. And so that's why my report starts with calling her an officer. Angela is an officer and a Class 8. She's a Class 8 auditor. Last night, she put on a display of out manners and out PR of quite some proportion directly in front of a public that she had just brought into my office. It was out PR for ASHO. I was alone in my office getting ready for a product conference I was having in 3 minutes with my chief supervisors. This is a product conference that I'm holding with my juniors, as opposed to the product conference the captain held with all of his juniors. Okay, I'll change here. Okay, I was having a product conference in 3 minutes with my chief soups. I have this product conference in my office daily at 10 p.m. Okay, end of the day. 10 p.m. Wow. Okay. Angela unlocked my door and came in and sat down with a public. Oh, it says pubic. Nice. It is very unusual for public to be in my office unless I am personally seeing the public on a routing form. There is a director of training office that the staff use to see public, not the tech exec office. I didn't say anything to them right when they came in because I figured they were popping in to grab something and popping out. But when the public pulled up a chair next to Angela's chair and sat down, I decided to try and see the cycle somewhere else. That's good old Scientology's for I basically tried to get them to move somewhere else. Angela started to take out her laptop computer and plug it in. I asked her what she was doing. I repeated this question about 4 times before Angela acknowledged that I was speaking, even though she was only 7 feet away from me. This made it clear that she was ridged out. That's a Scientology term for basically she was upset and she was being bitchy. I was being intentionally polite in my manner with Angela because of the public. When she answered me, she said she was giving the guy a tip. A tip is a technical individual program. It's a sequence of courses they're supposed to do. I acked her, that means I acknowledged her, and said that I was just about to have a product conference with my chief soups in the office in 3 minutes. She said, so she was no higher than 2.0. That's on the emotional tone scale. That is antagonism. She was no higher than 2.0. I was surprised she was speaking to me this way in front of a public. We normally have a good comm line. That's a communication line, which means we normally get along well. And I felt it would get worse if I contributed to the antagonism. So I stayed calm and I spoke to her as if she was speaking to me normally. I said again that my product conference was just about to start and that I would like her to use the director of training office. She said the student, doesn't mind a product conference. I said that I didn't want to have a staff product conference with a public student in the room. I suggested that she could use the director of training's office where there is an unused desk and there is a computer already in there. She said, I'm not going anywhere. I acknowledged her and told her that when my product conference started, I would require her to leave. She said, I don't care. I TR3'd her. That means I repeated myself. And she said, you can require anything you want. I'm not going anywhere. You can leave. I told her that this was my office. She said, it's foundation hours. Angela misses the point that even during foundation hours, it's not her office. It is the tech exec office. I have let Angela put her computer and printer in my office to use it for admin because she wanted a better space. However, she already has a space designated for her in the St. Hill Special Briefing Course co-audit room. This is where she had her computer stored before I let her bring it into my office. And beyond that, even her senior, the director of training, has a separate office down the hall that is appropriate for Angela to use, not the tech exec office. Also, there is currently no director of training Asho Day on post, and so there is a completely unused desk sitting in the DFT office that Angela could use. Angela continued to use an antagonistic, "you're not the boss of me" tone in front of this public and was outright refusing to leave. Okay, I do go on here for a little bit. We don't have to read but check out all the Scientology lingo. I have permitted the DFT Foundation, TRRO Foundation, BC Officer Foundation, and Deputy BC Officer Foundation to move into my office, even though it is not their space, and they have other spaces in New York designated for them. This is because my office is a nice space, and I also like having them in there. I earlier kicked the Deputy BC Officer out of my office only when she was so consistently rude and distracting in my office that I could not permit her to have a permanent working installation in there any longer. Okay, this goes on and on and on and on and on. Okay, I'm going to fast forward to a part where, okay, my goodness, this is peak Scientology report writing. Later this morning, I was walking into my office and Angela had just walked in ahead of me. Instead of ignoring her or walking away, I said to her, "I moved your things into the DFT office because what you did last night was completely out of line and out PR and not okay. And you're not welcome to use this office anymore, so your things are in there." Angela was mildly cutting me off while I was saying this. When we spoke, she began to say in a reproachful manner, "I am an officer, and you speak to me with respect." She was trying to pull rank on me when I'm in fact 2 echelons senior to her. I cut her off. I told her that it didn't matter one bit what her rank was, that I was the tech sec of the day org, and rank aside, I had seniority to her. I told her that how she acted earlier, the other night was completely unbecoming of an officer and out PR, and that it was the same behavior she had been chided for by my deputy CO several weeks earlier. Blah, 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 blah. She listened to me calmly, and then when I finished, Angela said matter-of-factly, "You are insane." "You are insane. You have made a mistake, and you have not heard the last of this." I told her she was threatening me, and I kicked her out of my office. Okay, good. This is so funny. A short bit later, still, I received a copy of a knowledge report that Angela wrote on me directly on the RTC computer in AOLA reception. Okay, this is interesting, right? Because the language that I just happened to find in what just happened to be the first ever report that I ever wrote on Angela has the exact same language that she uses in her hate video. So that tells you that the incident she's talking about in her video is this incident, okay? Okay, so this is the report that she wrote to RTC. She sent this all the way up to David Miscavige, right? Okay. This report contained complete fabrications, and she described the incident with the public in a manner wherein I was attacking and yelling at Angela when the public was in the office to get out, and Angela calmly explaining to me how I was being out PR. This is 1.1 on the chart of human evaluation. She accuses me of being antisocial. She says I'm trying to get rid of her. She calls me a hypocrite because there are other people in my office who I have not kicked out. She claims to be so completely ARC broken, which is Scientology speak for upset, so completely ARC broken that she has to keep herself from reporting to HCO, that's basically HR, to ask that either he goes or I go. And she's the one who perpetuated the situation. Now check it out. Look how charitable I am to Angela after all of this. I have no qualms with Angela whatsoever aside from this one incident. I'm not even particularly pissed at this point. It's just that I've received no recognition from Angela that her insubordination was not okay or that it shouldn't happen again. So the only measure I can take to prevent the same thing from occurring in the future is to remove her from my immediate space. I've never had a problem with Angela being in my office otherwise. When I received this chit, I was taken aback by the fallacy of it. My pearls! I walked by an office where Angela was. Wait. I didn't speak to her. She walked through me, but best needs me to be an abused child. I tried to get her attention. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Any ex-Scientologist will laugh reading this paragraph. Okay. I walked by an office where Angela was, and I wanted to perhaps restore a bit of a sane communication on this cycle. I attempted to speak to her, but she walked through me, physically pushing me aside with the demeanor of an abused child. I tried to get her attention and willingness to speak, and she refused, saying that it was against her code of honor. In Scientology, there is something called a code of honor. And one of the items on the code is do not give or receive communication from anyone if you yourself do not desire it. Sea Org members falling back on the code of honor to justify behavior is like one of the all-time cop-outs. I told Angela that if she was not willing to even get in calm and act like an officer, then she needed to knock off presenting herself as some sort of victim. This is true. The entire freaking incident had to do with Angela coming in and using my office, which didn't belong to her, while I was about to have a meeting with my staff. That's all it was. Okay. Now let's watch Angela's video. Here we go.
Yeah, Aaron was a complete bully. I mean, he would come around and poke, working to needle, like, how could he get the goat of this person? And he would not go away until he was satisfied that he had created the effect that he was trying to create. When he was in my area, he was constantly needling, like with words and verbal demeaning statements that...
Again, let me jump in. Please remember, we did not work in this for the same organizations. There's no reason for me to be in Angela's area. And if I was in Angela's area, I have no authority over her of any kind whatsoever. Plus, she is an officer. So even though rank is not more important than post in the Sea Org, she does have kind of some more rights and more, I guess you might even say balls than your average Sea Org member. Like Angela was a fire-breathing dragon, right? So like, I'm just pointing out, she's like, whenever he was in my area, he was so mean to me. I was not her senior. Angela, just like I didn't have to take Angela's shit, Angela doesn't have to take my shit either. But she presents it somewhat otherwise.
I, for the first time in my life, felt like this organization is not big enough for both of us.
We didn't work in the same organization. So even when Angela's like, oh my God, it's all I can do to keep myself from going to HR, and says either he goes or I go. Her HR department isn't even the same HR department as my HR department.
Either he goes or I go. It was very, very, very uncomfortable to be there when he was in the area. I witnessed him leave a staff member in tears when she was perfectly working okay before he came along.
That's totally possible that could have occurred. Why doesn't she tell any details? Who was the person? What was their relation to me in the organization? What were they doing when I walked up to them? What were they supposed to be doing when I walked up to them? What did I say? What was the result? It sounds like an interesting story. They never tell whatever the hell they're actually talking about.
And he wasn't satisfied with the product until he left her in a puddle of tears. For normal people that I work around, that's completely unusual.
Not to get too far off onto the beaten path, but at the time that we were working, I was at Astro Day. She was at Astro Foundation. The commanding officer of Astro Foundation was a woman named Renee Norton. Renee Norton is one of the most unhinged, psychopathic, emotionally abusive Sea Org members I have ever encountered. And it is only my good fortune that I never had to work under her, because I wouldn't have lasted working under her. Like I would have blown out. I would not have made it. So any ex Sea Org members who know Renee Norton, especially who know how Renee Norton behaved as the commanding officer of ASHO-F would roll their eyes so hard they would fall out of their head at the idea that everyone else Angela worked with in the Sea Org was great. And it was totally unusual for people to act like I'm saying Aaron behaved.
For normal people that I work around, that's completely unusual. I don't work around people that create a toxic environment. Aaron, he definitely knew how to create a toxic environment for the people that worked around him. It was not pleasant. It was not wanted. It prevented us from getting our job done. Well, the words honesty, kindness, integrity do not describe Aaron Asmithlevin. Words that could be used to...
Guys, she started a sentence that way. She was just fed a line. The words, wait, let's hear, I want to hear this.
Describe Aaron Asmithlevin. The words honesty, kindness, integrity do not describe Aaron Asmithlevin.
Did someone just try to describe me that way? What is she responding to? Nobody starts a sentence that way. So it seems like the prompt would have been like, would you describe Aaron as, anyway, it's just, I don't know. I take funny things away from these videos.
Words that could be used to describe Aaron Asmithlevin are cruel, demonic, sadistic.
Oh, my pearls.
Malintended. He was not a good person.
Not a good person. Oh my God. Okay. It's funny. One of the most obvious questions that, someone who never had anything to do with Scientology would ask when watching these videos, you'd think would be like, so why did they keep him around for so long? Like, what? All these people would be like, Aaron never did anything productive. I never saw him help anyone. He was always screaming. He made it impossible for anyone to get their jobs done. And you're like, so how many years was he the technical secretary? 3 years. 3 years. By the way, that was my first post in the Sea Org. I was recruited into the Sea Org to be the technical secretary ASHO Day. And then you're like, oh, so then he got removed from that post? Yes. And then you guys got rid of him? No. You didn't get rid of him? No. What did you do? We promoted him. Yes, we promoted him, put him into full-time training to be the cramming officer of the advanced org. And then we promoted him and he went to the advanced org. But what? So then everything you're saying about him, that's people who are like that and that type of behavior and people who exhibit that type of behavior, that's considered acceptable. You hold on to those people. You don't get rid of those people. Now you'll notice some of these videos are like, they act like they then got rid of me. No, I left the Sea organization with Heather when she got pregnant. At no point was the Sea Org ever trying to get rid of me or Heather. And that's one of the other funny things about these stories and them being like, they were always bad. It was always terrible. Never accomplished anything. And then, of course, you have the email from Jon Lundeen that was like, you had good intentions and you worked hard and you were enthusiastic and you did a good job improving the place. And I appreciated your efforts. Wow. That's quite a difference there. Okay. Now the report that I read to you guys was the first report I ever wrote on Angela Trentham. Do you guys want to see the last report I ever wrote on Angela Trentham? Here we go, guys. Let's look at it. I'll read this one a little bit faster. This one has even more Scientologies in it. I must have been really pissed off at this one. Maybe I was just sick of Angela's shit after all these years. Okay, look at the copies. Director of Training, ASHO Foundation. Technical Secretary, ASHO Foundation. Chief Off, ASHO-F. Captain, ASHO-F. A Tech Aid West US. Guess who that was at that time? That was Chris Shelton. Flag Rep, ASHO-F. Invest Officer, CMO PAC. Services Exec, INT. Oh, damn, I sent this to International Management, homie. ASHO Day, ASHO Foundation, Stats, Board of Investigation. Right. Okay, check this out. This is some real Scientology pro-level report writing right here. 2 days ago, a public named Daryl Craig routed into Asho Day to do level 0 of the SHSBC full-time Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m. He has been on Asho F lines before. He turned in his CSW to be off to prepare to go to Flag in September. He sold his dental practice and is currently getting auditing on OT5 at AOLA. He decided to go full-time on his BC, and so he routed into Asho Day. Today, he called me from reception and wanted to speak with me. I had him come to my office, and he told me that Angela had seen him and told him that she wanted him to audit PCs since he was at the point on his level O where he could. He has at least 100 drills left on his check sheet, but he could start auditing if he wanted to. He didn't really want to, but he felt Angela was telling him that he had to. So he wanted to know if we were going to make him audit right now on his check sheet or not. I went over his check sheet with him and showed him that he could start auditing now if he wanted to, but that he didn't have to. He also said that since he is going in session on OT5 during the week, it throws out his predict. That's a Scientology phrase there. Makes it just hard to predict. It throws out his predict if he also has to juggle sessions with his own PCs. He just wants to wrap up his drills for now. I told him that was perfectly acceptable, and he would not be taken off of his drilling to audit until he was personally ready to do so. He went back to see Angela. He then came back to see me. He said Angela had asked him whose idea was it for him to switch over to Asho Day. He told her it was just his idea since he sold his practice and was available to train full time. Angela told him that he was betraying Asho Foundation by switching to Asho Day. She also told him that since he received a bunch of student auditing in the BC on Asho F hours, that his exchange was out. She also told him that he was not as far along on his briefing course as he should be by now, and that he was an embarrassment and wouldn't want him to go to Flag. This is what she said per Daryl. I called the TechSec Asho Foundation and told her that Angela was putting this public in the middle of a game's condition by telling him he was betraying Asho F by going on full-time training. The TechSec said she would handle Angela. It's very out PR and off purpose to rebuke this public for going on a full-time day schedule. He is doing the correct thing. And I even quoted a policy that says there is no effort to undermine the daytime org. You will find it had its own and different public and will run on quite well. Even better. The Evening Foundation sends a lot of business its way, but has plenty of its own. The two orgs will take business away from each other. Day business may drop to evening. Evening business becomes day business. So nobody should care much who signs up for which, as long as a sign up does occur. This should be looked into. Oh, look, much love, TechSec, Asho Day, Aaron Smith-Levin. See, Angela was a bitch. She was a rude bitch and didn't mind doing it in front of public. Totally unprofessional, insubordinate, and churlish. Okay, so that's Angela. Okay, our next good friend is Ben Francis. Ben Francis is actually Miriam. Uh-oh, what just happened? I just got an error message. Your browser has lost connection to your screen share audio. Okay, I'm going to undo the screen share. How did that happen? I don't know how that happened. But let me screen share again. Up. Stop screen share. Screen share. Okay.
Let me just kind of summarize. Aaron Smith.
Okay, now I can get back to business here. Ben Francis is actually Miriam Francis's brother, and you would never know it because they look nothing alike, and Ben doesn't have an accent. Once again, I did not work with Ben Francis. He was a course supervisor for Asho Foundation. So even if he worked for Asho Day, he would have been my junior's junior. And yet that's what he was, but for a completely different organization. I had no authority over him. He had no responsibility to me. I never supervised him. I obviously would see him when I walked through the org during foundation hours. It's weird having two Sea Org orgs working out of the same building. It's actually ridiculous. It was actually ridiculous. David Miscavige changed that not too long ago. There's no longer an Asho Day and an Asho Foundation. There's just Asho. But you have to understand, Ben and I never interacted with each other on a professional basis. Maybe I would say hi to him. Like, I've never given Ben an order. Like, you see what I'm saying? We had nothing to do with each other professionally. Keep that in mind as he does his video. Here we go.
Let me just kind of summarize Aaron Smith-Levin like this. He was, this disruptive, angry, antagonistic, bullying guy. But really, to me, that was just kind of like a cover for his very like weak and pathetic nature. And he was just obviously a person who feels like they can't really do anything effective. He's kind of useless to have around. Like, he didn't really produce much of anything except for a dangerous environment. The
moment a Sea Org member starts talking about what another Sea Org member produced, you would assume you must have worked together. How would Ben know what I did or did not do on my post when we did not work together?
Threatening. He was just this threatening guy who just went around and tried to bully people. And the first thing I think of is a specific incident that happened where there was about myself and about 15 other staff members meeting with our, most senior executive in our church. She was a very upstanding, somewhat elderly, like about 65, 70 years old, African-American woman.
I promise you, Renee Norton was not 65 or 70 years old.
And she was having this meeting with us, and he barged into the office, interrupting the meeting. So she asked that he, not do that and that he leave.
Guess whose office it was? My office.
Leave and stuff. And he insisted on coming in there. He had to get something from the office, and he just insisted on going in there and just fully, disrespecting anything she had to say, and just basically got into, he like violently like attacked her.
Notice the theme? Just like Jon Lundeen falsely said, I took a swing at him, and actually even more falsely said that I actually hit him, is the exact same theme that Ben Francis is doing. I promise you, if I had ever physically attacked or threatened to physically attack or physically intimidated or threatened to physically intimidate Renee Norton, the commanding officer of VASHOF, I would have been immediately removed from my post. Do you see? Right? And so again, it's one of those things where it's like, so did it happen and that's okay in the Sea Org, or did it not happen? And you guys know me. If something like if a juicy, scandalous, incident or event had actually occurred, I'd tell you about it. I'd do a video about it. I'd explain how it's okay to do that in the cult. And that's an example of why you don't want to be in the cult. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm not denying these things because I care if anyone believes I did them. They just literally didn't occur. And yet if they did occur, it would say more about what's okay in the Sea Org than it would about any individual Sea Org member. Okay, let's see. And by the way, it just so happens I have the report that I wrote after the incident that Ben is talking about. And I'm going to read that for you as soon as we're done with this video.
And we had to actually, like, every male in that office had to like jump on him and bring him out. And he's actually like a very he's a big guy. So it was like very, very disruptive. I mean, it was like tables and chairs and, it was just, it was pretty crazy. So and that was kind of like how he is pretty much with anything, the slightest thing just sets him off, and he just goes like totally nuts. So, he was treated with dignity despite, all of his shortcomings.
How would Ben Francis, who didn't work in my organization, know how I was treated in my organization? Do you see what I'm saying? They feed these people lines.
And he just goes like totally nuts. So, he was treated with dignity despite, all of his shortcomings. And a lot of help was granted him. A lot of attempts were made to help him with his, situations and stuff, but he's just been like that the whole time. Just
the whole time, you guys, the whole time. As soon as Aaron got to the Sea Org, it was screaming and bullying and intimidating and throwing tables and chairs and attacking people. And you're like, and he lasted for how long? Yeah, he was there for 4 years. And he left because you guys got rid of him? No. He left because his wife got pregnant. Oh, wow. By the way, if I ever had thrown a table or a chair in the Sea Org, I would tell you guys about it because that would be awesome. That would be exciting. That would be scandalous. No such thing. And guys, I might be 220 pounds now. I'm actually down to like 215, you guys. I was only 180 pounds in the Sea Org. Not a very big guy. Okay. All right, hold on. Almost done.
and stuff, but he's just been like that the whole time. Just angry, antagonistic, and violent. That's just been how he's been.
Angry, antagonistic, violent, screaming, threatening, intimidating, beat up an old lady. Not just an old lady, an old black lady. Not just any old black lady, the commanding officer of the org. And you got rid of him immediately, right? No. He lasted another 2 years at ASHO. Okay, but then you guys got rid of him. Nope, we promoted him. Okay, let me read for you my version, my meticulously documented version of the specific incident Ben is trying to talk about. And I'm going to try to read this quick, guys. It's kind of a long video. It's been a while since I've spent this much time talking about stuff like this. But check this out. Look, I also copied pretty much freaking everybody on this bad boy. So September 28th, again, this is about 13 months after I first got into the Sea Org. I'm sending this to RTC, the investigations officer, CMO, the PAC security chief. I'm copying Chris Shelton. I'm copying my captain. I'm copying my chief off. And again, the flag data files. Okay, knowledge report, Renee Norton. Now that's the thing. You may not be able to attack a senior officer, but you sure as hell can write a knowledge report on them. Okay, today is Sunday. After my CSP and lunch, I went into my office at about 12:40 p.m. 10 minutes before my org muster and 15 minutes before my CO's product conference. I had to go to my office, to get my stat data prepared. I have various worksheets on my laptop computer to track my VSD, that's my stat, value of services delivered. To track my VSD, monitor each separate type of VSD, track the student points for each course room, etc. When I walked into my office, all of Department 11 ASHO Foundation was there with the Director of Training, TechSec, Chief Off, and Captain Foundation. Literally every executive from the course every staff member, meaning down to the lowest level course supervisor, every executive, every technical executive, all the way up to the commanding officer was for some reason holding a meeting in my office. So keep in mind, that's who the audience was for all of this. This is everyone who was present for this incident. Okay. All of Department 11 ASHOF was there with the DFT, TechSec, Chief Off, and Captain Foundation, and some other Qual and Department 10 staff. They were wrapping up a meeting. The Captain Foundation was standing in the middle of the room speaking to everyone. There were about 30 people in the 15 by 15 office, either standing up, sitting on desks, on the bookshelves, or in the chairs. It was foundation hours, so this was not a problem for me. I walked into my office the way I normally do, moving quickly. I did not hear anyone in there before I opened the door. Oh yeah, the door to my office was always kept locked. Like it's always locked. So in order to go in, you have to stick a key in. And when you've done this thousands and thousands of times, you're not knocking on your own door before you walk into the office, and you're used to it being locked. So it's one of these things where you get this muscle memory of you're walking up to the door, you've already got your key in your hand, and you're basically doing a stick, turn, and push all in one motion. And that's kind of why I'm painting that picture of I move quickly. Okay. I walked into my office the way I normally do, moving quickly. I did not hear anyone in there before I opened the door, so I opened it quickly and I saw that the place was packed with people, decided I would not be able to use my desk, and without interrupting or saying anything, I went to get my computer off of my desk. The Captain Foundation and I have been over and over the use of my office. We both know that she has full use of my office during her hours and that I have full use of the office during my hours. I did, however, need to be prepared for my own meeting in 10 to 15 minutes. And so without saying anything to interrupt, I quickly went to my desk to get my laptop. The Captain Foundation said, "Excuse me, you're not going to come in here during my time and interrupt my meeting." I said, "I know, sir. I'm just grabbing my computer and leaving." As I said this, I unlocked the lock that holds my computer to my desk. In the Sea Org, you have to lock your computer to your desk. This is how paranoid they are. They don't want someone to be able to come in and steal your computer. So you literally have what it kind of looks like a bicycle chain lock, except it's made for computers. And you literally have to lock your laptop, physically attach your laptop to your desk with a lock. So not only am I going in my office having to grab my computer, but I've got to unlock the damn thing first. Okay. Okay. I said, "I'm just grabbing my computer and leaving, sir." As I said this, I unlocked the lock that holds my computer to my desk, and I took my computer case from the floor and put it on my desk, and I opened it to put the computer in the case. She said, paraphrased, "No, I'm sorry. You have to get out of here right now. This is my time." I told her again I was leaving. I said I had my own meeting to go to, and I was just grabbing my computer. She got in my face. Anyone who knows Renee Norton knows exactly what this looked like and sounded like. She does this to people all the time. She is a fucking lunatic. She got in my face and tried to physically interfere with my taking the computer and attempted to get between me and my desk. She said that I was interpolating her meeting and told me to get out. I went towards my desk to continue getting my computer. She told her supervisors to get me out of the office and told someone to call HCO. HCO is ethics. I was in front of my desk, which is directly up against a wall on the right side. A few of the supervisors grabbed at me. Now realize these are course supervisors, not like my supervisors, not like someone above me on the org board. These are her junior staff that she is ordering to put their hands on me. And that is the type of behavior that is totally acceptable in the Sea Org. All over me just needing to get my freaking computer that had all my stats on it so I could go downstairs to my captain's meeting and report my stats for the day and the week. Okay. A few of the supervisors grabbed at me. From turning to face them, I had my back up against the wall. Ben Francis, in particular, the BC Practical Course Supervisor, ASHOF, had his hands on me and was pulling at me. I pushed him off of me completely and told him not to put his hands on me. The captain then put her hands on me. I actually forgot that she did that. And told me that I needed to get out and tried to move me. I did not push the captain, but I prevented her from moving me by just resisting her force. Angela Trentham also grabbed me. Holy shit, it was a free-for-all. And attempted to move me at the same time. By the way, it is noteworthy that in a room full of men, the female captain and the female Angela Trentham did not hesitate to be some of the people to try and grab me. This is the nature of the Sea Org. So I love how in Ben's story, it was only the men who tried to remove me. But in actuality, it was even Angela and even the captain, actually. Okay. Angela Trentham also grabbed at me and attempted to move me at the same time. I did not push either one of them, but I prevented both of them from moving me out the door. While they were pushing me, the captain said to me tauntingly, "Are you going to hurt us? Are you going to hurt us, girls?" Guys, this was actual day-to-day life in the fucking Sea Organization. Madness. Absolute madness. Okay, I go, this was getting nuts. I just needed my computer. The captain was now putting on a show for her crew, and I could just see the 30 knowledge reports that would say, I hit the captain, a girl. Again, there was about 30 staff in the office. I remained relatively calm and said loudly, so that there would be no misduplication, that I was not going to hit or hurt anyone. I was just going to take my computer. The captain yelled, "The hell you are! Get out now!" I stood there for a few seconds, completely dumbfounded at this scene. The captain yelled, "Don't you perp on me! Don't you perp on me!" I have never in all of Scientology heard anyone other than Renee Norton use that word that way. In Scientology, there's something called an evil purpose. And an evil purpose is something you take up in auditing. It's just basically an evil intention, a bad intention, to destroy utterly, to ruin. These are evil purposes. There is sort of, you could turn that into a verb by saying Eve perping on someone, which, like, if you're just doing something to someone just to be evil, you could be like, he's Eve perping. But you never hear you almost never hear Scientologists use this word. I've also never heard anyone shorten it to perp. Don't you perp on me? Don't you perp on me? And that means don't you dramatize your evil purposes on me. Okay. The captain yelled, "Don't you perp on me! Don't you perp on me!" while she moved back and forth right in front of my face in a combative, "I dare you" manner. Honestly, she was almost acting like Don King, the boxing promoter, like walking, like it was like the WWE. It was like she was walking back and forth, putting on a freaking a wrestling performance, you know, for her crew that was in the office. It was absolutely maddening. Okay. At this time, one staff member grabbed my computer case and put it out in the hallway, and another handed me the laptop computer itself. The captain was still standing directly between me and my desk so that I could not personally get to it. Still on my desk, though, was my black portfolio and a 3-ring binder with my programs in it. Also, the plug for my computer was not given to me, and the computer does not work without the plug. Oh, the charge cord. At this point, at least 2 supervisors came at me again. Renee Norton was the only one that I saw. He was using a great deal of force to move me and had his arms locked around me, holding me from behind. I was now holding a $2,000 computer in my left arm while he was attempting to manhandle me. I was strongly resisting, but he was grabbing onto me tightly and had some leverage. The office was packed, several people sitting on every desk, and Renee pushed us into several girls who were sitting on desks 2 or 3 times. I believe Laura Schilling was hit in the face by my shoulder or my elbow. Renee's arms were wrapped around me with my arms under his. Because of how Renee was holding me, I was leaning forward to have some leverage and clutching my computer so that it would not hit a wall or a desk or a person or get knocked out of my hands. I was mostly looking down, not up. There were a few people that Renee and I ran into while he was fighting to move me. I do not know who they were. This struggle went on for a few minutes. Guys, a few minutes. This was like an ongoing scene with 30 Sea Org members in the tech exec office on the 2nd floor of ASHO, which is a public space. So, by the way, there's no such concept as de-escalation in the Sea Organization. So, like, it's not like this was just a space where Sea Org members were, and it doesn't matter what goes on. Where my office was located on the 2nd floor was like every single person entering the 2nd floor goes by my office. There's a stairwell that goes up the floors of ASHO. As soon as you come out of the stairwell onto the 2nd floor, where the first floor of course rooms are, boom, my office is right there. So here you have a physical, loud, continuing physical confrontation happening in a public space. And the commanding officer of the organization is actually escalating it and continuing it, all over me wanting to grab a computer so I could have my stats for my meeting with my captain. Something you would think their captain would totally understand, right? Needing your stats because you're about to go to product conference. Okay. Okay, the Captain Foundation was condoning the entire scene. Renee and some other supes were both using full-on force to get me out the door when PAC security arrived. The scene broke up when security got there. I went into the bathroom to straighten up and then went into the tech call-in office next to my office and sat down to chill out. The captain's meeting had resumed in my office and they were literally laughing out loud. This could easily be heard through the walls. If I had ever struck, hit, pushed, or anything of the sort, Renee Norton, the captain of Astro Foundation at that time, an older Black woman at that time, and when I say older, when you're a younger person, older is hard to judge. She was probably in her late 30s, early 50s, older, a grown woman. If I had attacked the Captain Astro F, she would not have just resumed on meeting with her staff with everyone laughing, right? Okay. I go, the above was a completely disgusting scene. Every single day of the week, Monday through Friday, I permit the Chief Off Foundation, TechSec, QualSec, and TreasureSec foundations to have their product conference in my office during my hours while I am in there working. I also let a number of other foundation staff use my office during day hours. For example, the tech reception and routing officer, the director of training, the tech esto, who all have desks in my office and use them during day hours. There is simply no reason for me not to let them be there, and I enjoy their company in the office. For all the above to have occurred, even when I had my computer half packed and would have literally needed 20 seconds to wrap up and get out of the office, is completely off the rails. For the captain to tell her supervisors to lay their hands on me in my office is completely off the rails. This is an indicator that I believe needs to be investigated. Since this occurred, I have completely repaired my comm line with Renee Norton. The two of us are, in fact, good friends. And when I do my own study time, he is also my course supervisor. And we were friends before the above incident. The captain acted as a third party. Much love, Aaron Asmithlevin. That is a glimpse into actual day-to-day life of being in the Sea Org on L. Ron Hubbard way. That is the type of shit that was condoned by the highest executives in the organization. Now, Renee wasn't my commanding officer, but she was a commanding officer. And she acted like that all the time. Her staff were terrified of her. Now, Jon Lundeen, compared to Renee Norton, was a fucking saint compared to that lunatic. Generally speaking, I would say Sea Org members were not afraid of Jon Lundeen. Jon could get mad, but Jon was also a fun guy most of the time. Sure. He was a Sea Org executive. He did abuse people. He did hit people. He did all sorts of stuff. But compared to Renee Norton, he was a saint. Okay, we played Jon Lundeen. We played Angela Trentham. We played Ben Francis. Even though I don't have any reports, to tie to the next video, I want to tie it just because he's a guy I actually used to be friendly with in the Sea Org, who, again, I literally never worked with. This next guy, his name is Tim Burke. And I hope he's out of the Sea Org. I don't know. I hope this guy's not still in the Sea Org. His post was called Board IC. Board IC. Okay. I was over Division 4. All the training and auditing occurs in Division 4. The training is in Department 11. The auditing is in Department 12. The Department 12 is called the Hubbard Guidance Center, or HGC. That's where all the professional auditing is delivered. There is a board that has all of the auditors and all of the pre-clears and the hours of the day, and the board is the board in charge is the one keeping track of which PCs are assigned to which auditors and which auditors are in session, which auditors are not in session, which PCs folders are still with the case supervisor, which auditors are in cramming. Okay. In my organization, the board IC would have been my junior's junior. Okay. my junior's junior. Tim was the board IC for the other org. We did not work together, but I did see him all the time because the HGC for Astro Day and the HGC for Astro F worked side by side in the same space. They didn't have to take turns. We all worked together at the same time. And me and Tim were totally friendly with each other. Me and Tim have never had a crossword with each other in our lives. And yeah, like that's all I got to say. Like, I liked him and he liked me. We were buddies, even though we didn't hang out because we worked at different orgs. Like, we were buddies. We probably saw each other 20 times a day because I'm constantly in and out of the HGC, and he works in the HGC 18 hours a day, 365 days a year. So anyway, that's all I can say. He's a nice guy. We always got along great. We were buddies. Let's see what Tim has to say about me now. Here we go.
Think about Asmithlevin is no different than you telling me, hey, can you remember when you ran into a... Think about Asmithlevin is no different than you telling me, hey, can you remember when you ran into a car at 60 miles an hour and you flew out of the windshield? Like, I don't want to think about that, right? It's that bad. My first interactions with him were, believe it or not, they were seemingly pleasant. So I thought that I had, some new guy that was this big buff dude. But then...
Ew, why are you calling me buff? What's wrong with you, dude?
Within a cut that I had, interactions with him were, believe it or not, they were seemingly pleasant. So I thought that I had, some new guy that was this big buff dude. But then within a couple of weeks of him actually arriving.
Wait, whoa, Tim, pump the brakes, bro. I had some new guy who was this big buff dude. What are you talking about? If I'm not your boss and you're not my boss and we don't even work for the same org, what do you mean when you said I had this new guy? Who's writing this for you? Or what are you talking about?
With him were, believe it or not, they were seemingly pleasant. So I thought that I had, some new guy that was this big buff dude. But then within a couple of weeks of him actually arriving, into an actual position inside the church, I got to actually interact with him, and he was always angry. He was.
Wait, you never interacted with me before then? Then why were you so excited that I was there? Were you just ogling my big buff muscles? Like, these guys don't even tell stories in ways that make sense.
Always yelling and screaming, and he was always mad. I never saw him smile much. He would...
Guys, I smile all the time. You could call me Mr. Smiley Head. You could call me Mr. Clean. You could call me whatever you want. But there's one thing I do a lot, and it's smile and laugh. You guys know that. It was true in the Sea Org. I was the same in the Sea Org. Smile all the time, laugh all the time. Yeah, sometimes you got to yell, but goes with the territory.
Present himself in a way that seemed right, kind of on camera, so to speak, like at musters or at various different meetings.
This is why I wanted to explain the different orgs. Tim and I were never at a muster together for the whole 4 years I worked on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Why? Because orgs don't muster with each other. Orgs are on different schedules. Tim and I have never been in a meeting together at the same time ever because we didn't work together. This is what I meant. When I was earlier thinking about some of the stuff that Ben Francis was going to say, it was actually some of the stuff that Tim says. If you didn't know we didn't work together, you would think that we did based on his telling of these stories.
But behind kind of on camera, so to speak, like at musters or at various different meetings, but behind closed doors, he was a monster. He literally he would terrorize. He just yelled. I mean, I never saw him get an honest product in the 2 years that I worked anywhere near him. The only thing he did was find fault and look for things to be mad about. He would show up at his desk. Anytime I went to his office, he was...
Do you know what's funny? The way he talks almost makes it sound like you would think he was my superior, right? How would Tim Burke know what my products on my post were? Anyway, I know I'm beating a dead horse here.
Writing some for things to be mad about. He would show up at his desk. Anytime I went to his office, he was writing something down on a piece of paper or picking up a phone and slamming it down. Or
guys, In the 4 years I was in the Sea Org or the 3 years I was at ASHO, Tim Burke never once came into my office. Tim Burke's job was to work at the board, which is on the 4th floor. That's his job all day, every day. He was the board IC all day, every day. And I remember Sebastian Rodriguez was also there. So now I'm wondering if Sebastian might have been the board IC and Tim might have been the DTS, the Director of Tech Services. He might have actually been Sebastian's senior. At no point did Tim Burke ever come into my tech exec office on the 2nd floor. On the flip side, I would go into the HGC 20 times a day. But again, even their own stories are messed up.
Or barging out of his office to, go and yell at somebody else. I never saw him in a position of like, I'm going to sit down and help this person, with anything. So Aaron, one day, I was sitting at my desk and I overheard some yelling in the background. He was having a very loud argument with somebody that we worked with in my office.
Why doesn't he tell the details? First of all, we didn't share an office. Tim didn't have an office. Tim worked in the HGC. He didn't have an office. He might have had a desk in the HGC in the admin area, but this would be an interesting story. I'm sorry to keep stopping this and rewinding it, guys, but that's how my mind works. I'm sorry.
I kept having a very loud argument with somebody that we worked with in my office. I kind of got an idea of who it was. I was used to hearing him argue with.
I kind of got an idea who it was. Is it just me, guys?
This one background. I was sitting at my desk and I overheard some yelling in the background. He was having a very loud argument with somebody that we worked with in my office. I kind of got an idea of who it was. I was used to hearing him argue with this woman.
Oh, it's a woman. Also, you notice how he says someone that we work with. That's to create the impression that me and Tim ever worked together. We literally never worked together. And it's not like in the course rooms where sometimes a student would be an ASHO F student and an ASHO Day student, and sometimes supervisors for Day and Foundation or even the tech secs for Day and Foundation might need to coordinate together about a particular student. In the HGC, there was no crossover between PCs. A Foundation PC is never getting audited by a Day auditor. A Day PC is never getting audited by a Foundation auditor. I guess I'm just reiterating the point. Tim and I never worked together. We never had any business together. And yeah, we had nothing to do with each other professionally.
And I went back there and he was screaming at her at the top of his lungs. She was a very small woman. And she was holding a folder in her hands. And as he was screaming at her, I remember him kind of like standing over her a little bit. She was still holding this folder. And then he grabbed the folder out of her hand very violently. And he just bored past her and he shoved her with the folder and his body. And
wait, did I shove her? So now I shoved her. Okay. See, this is, I actually do think that whoever writes these videos or scripts the videos or plans the videos, I don't know that they actually put the literal words into these people's mouths, but I think they give them a theme. I think they give them prompts. And the common theme that Scientology has tried to sprinkle into all the videos about me is that I was violent, when I never initiated a physical conflict even once my entire time in the Sea Org. Now, first of all, he says he was standing over her. Well, he already said she was a tiny person. So obviously, if I'm 6'1" and she's tiny, I'm standing over her. And then I grabbed a folder out of her hand. That's something that totally could have occurred. But then then he shoved her. That's not really how things work. That's not really how things work. I have no idea what incident he's talking about. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and be like, okay, this doesn't sound like something that this sounds like something that could have occurred. I just don't happen to know what he's talking about.
She hit this, still holding this folder, and then he grabbed the folder out of her hand very violently, and he just bored past her, and he shoved her with the folder and his body, and she hit this this shelf with other folders on it.
Physical violence against a woman in the Sea Org, huh? I have no idea what he's talking about, but it then begs the question, wait a second. So a Scientology Sea Org executive committed physical violence against a much smaller woman. So you guys got rid of him, right? No. By the way, he sort of makes it sound like this happened the first few weeks that he knew me. So you didn't get rid of him? No. Well, how much longer was he there? Years. Okay, but then you guys got rid of him. Yes. Like completely? No. What'd you do? We promoted him. Oops.
And I work for a church. I mean, this is like the last thing you would expect to see, somebody do that calls themselves a member of anything.
That calls himself a member of anything? No, it's actually pretty normal to see people scream at each other and grab each other and get in each other's faces and sometimes hit each other. You know who knows all about that? Jon Lundeen and Renee Norton. And David Miscavige knows a thing about that too.
It was inhumane. I work for a church. I mean, this is like the last thing you would expect to see, somebody do that calls themselves a member of anything. It was inhumane. I didn't know like in this particular instance, I didn't know how to react. It was so shocking that I didn't know how to react. Anybody that's going to push a woman, anybody who is going to make their subordinates feel scared in their surroundings is not trustworthy. He is a coward because he can't take responsibility for the bad things that he has done. And that is the bottom line.
He can't take responsibility for the bad things he has done. Okay, let's just play devil's advocate here for a moment. Sea Org members who get into trouble, Scientology's ethics and justice procedures do require you to acknowledge and take responsibility and make better and make amends the things that you have done. So first of all, like a Sea Org member who gets in trouble, and I got in trouble a lot, does actually have to do those things. But whether I, as a Sea Org member, was capable of or not capable of doing those things, or did or did not do those things, Tim Burke would have no idea. Tim Burke didn't work in my organization. Tim Burke didn't work in HCO, the department responsible for handling ethics of Sea Org members. Tim Burke wasn't senior to me in the other organization. This is sort of what I mean, where at this point in the video, Scientology is actually feeding him, if not the exact words, what they want him to say. Tim would have no idea what I ever did or did not take responsibility for in the Sea Org, or even especially out of the Sea Org. All right, here we go.
Anybody who's willing to eat that he has done. And that is the bottom line. Anybody who's willing to eat a little bit of you-know-what and take responsibility for the bad things that they've done, they have my respect. But Aaron can't do that. He's done too many bad things to too many good people to be able to ever make up for it. So now,
here's what's kind of interesting. He's saying, I have done way too many bad things. And the worst thing that he could think of in the Sea Org was me. Well, see, he actually characterized what happened a few different ways. He basically sounded like I sort of kind of pushed my way past someone. That's how I understood his characterization the first time. I grabbed a folder out of someone's hands and I charged through and sort of knocked into someone as I was walking. Then later, he characterized it as me actually pushing someone. Those are two totally different characterizations. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that one of the people who did a hate video about me was my senior, Andrea Butterworth. And Andrea Butterworth was, in fact, actually pushed open hands, both arms, by Captain Jon Lundeen straight into a filing cabinet. So are they telling Tim to tell this story so that it sounds like when I tell the story about Jon and Andrea, that it sounds like I'm projecting onto Jon something that I did to one of my own subordinates? That sort of occurs to me as a possibility. But it is interesting that he's like, Aaron's never been able to take responsibility for anything. He's done way too many bad things to way too many people to ever be able to make up for it. And you're like, and the worst thing the worst story that you have is he grabbed a folder out of someone's hands and pushed by them and they got pushed a little. That's the worst thing. I think what happened in my office that day with 30 people laying hands on me was even worse than that. But again, I wish I actually had some memory of what he's talking about, because if I did, I'd probably be able to find the report that I wrote about it. But I just don't know. I'll look for it later. I'll look for something.
He has to be a coward and say that we're all bad. I look at it as more of a
This is great.
Anybody who's willing to eat, but Aaron can't do that. He's done too many bad things to too many good people to be able to ever make up for it. So now he has to be a coward and say that we're all bad. I look at it as more of a compliment to the Church of Scientology that Aaron Smith-Levin would say or do anything against the Church of Scientology, because anybody in their right mind would not want Aaron Smith-Levin as their friend. Anybody in their right mind would not want to listen to Aaron Smith-Levin as a source of any kind of truth or loyalty or compassion or love or anything. The dude will do what he can to come into your life.
Is it just me, or is this guy totally in love with me? Tim, I think it's time to come out of the closet, buddy. I'm sorry. I didn't know you felt about me that way. I'm sorry if I didn't pay enough attention to you. I mean, the back rubs should have been a dead giveaway. You're very handsy, Tim. I'm sorry I didn't give you the attention that you needed. But maybe you can leave Scientology one day and come out of the closet, buddy.
Make it worse. But I can tell you for sure that there is no chance that Aaron ever once had any other agenda but to do what he could to mess with the Church of Scientology and the people in it.
That is what made me want to include that last quote right there, is what made me want to play the video from Tim, even though I don't have any reports to show you. But later, I will see if I have any reports about Tim at all. I don't think so, because Tim and I had nothing to do with each other. I can't think of anything I would have ever reported Tim for. But it sounds like, so like when he talks about a junior of mine who was a much shorter woman than I am, that could have been Diana, the director of technical services. And that is the person that I mentioned earlier, the only person who was a junior of mine that I've seen do a video about me. I'm going to find Diana's video and I'm going to see if she talks about some incident like this, because I have a lot of reports that I've written on Diana. And if it was an incident with Diana, I probably have a report about it, and I'm going to look that up. So I'll look for reports on Tim. I'll look for reports of anything that happened with Diana. It's Diana Holchi. She's out of the Sea Org now. And so it's interesting, though, to this last sentence from him. He makes it sound like, well, first of all, he makes it sound like I wasn't actually born and raised in Scientology and didn't spend half my life working for them, and that I essentially infiltrated Scientology just to try and take it down. So let's hear that again.
But to do what he could, it's worse. But I can tell you for sure that there is no chance that Aaron ever once had any other agenda but to do what he could to mess with the Church of Scientology and the people in it.
So I basically joined and infiltrated Scientology with the sole agenda the entire time to mess with the Church of Scientology and the people in it. You know, have you guys heard the stories? Was it Mark Headley or was it Sterling Tompkins, who, I think it was Sterling, who ended up in an interrogation being asked if he was a plant sent in by the CIA to infiltrate Scientology. And he's like, I was fucking born into Scientology. Now, the thing is, Tim doesn't actually believe anything he said in this video. He doesn't. Tim and I were literally, I want to say good friends, but that would create a wrong impression, because in order to be good friends, you actually have to spend time with each other. Tim and I never hung out. We never had days off together. We didn't eat at the same table, but we saw each other like 20 times a day, every single day for 3 years, because part of my job was to be in the HGC, and that's where he worked as well. Tim and I were never anything but friendly with each other, and friendly in an inappropriate and unprofessional way, like friendly in a way that I, as the tech sec, shouldn't act like. It would have been fraternizing. So Tim and his buddy Sebastian Rodriguez, we were like three bros. And in fact, me and Sebastian would even go to the gym together. Tim never came to the gym. As you can tell from looking at him, I didn't realize he was ogling my giant muscles all of the time. I'm sorry, Tim. I just didn't feel that way about you, bro. Nothing personal. It's just not my bag, baby. Okay. So yeah, Tim doesn't believe any of this. But that's why, because Tim can sit down and do this video saying a whole bunch of shit that never happened and he doesn't believe, is why I honestly don't understand why they weren't able to get more of the people that actually worked under me to do videos. Bill Screevers, no video. Jim Platt, no video. Dick Orchu, no video. Mike Graves, no video. Phyllis Houlihan, no video. Kara Sherman, no video. Who else were some of my supervisors that were under me? Adela Chavoya, no video. Huckleberry Taylor, no video. What was that one girl's name? There was another junior of mine who did a video about me, Karina Garone. And again, that was the one, like, me and Karina were really good friends. Me and Karina, we loved each other. We work great together. Anyway, you guys get the point. I just wanted an excuse to show you guys some of my awesome Scientology reports. Guys, I have hundreds and hundreds of these reports that I wrote when I was in the Sea Org. Because as I mentioned in that one knowledge report, I had a laptop computer and I joined the Sea Org with that computer. It was mine. It's my personal property. And it was the computer that I used for literally everything I did on my post. Every cramming order, every tech qual ethics shit, knowledge report, things that shouldn't be report. Even the financial plan. I have a lot of copies of the weekly ASHO financial plan because all the division heads form a financial committee, financial planning committee, an advisory council. And at one point I was the chairman of the weekly financial planning committee. I've got all this stuff and sometimes I like to figure out how to squeeze them into videos. Let's look at some starred comments. Church of Scientology, Church of Satiretology. If vetted facts says it, you know it's true. Just like Xenu, Body Thetans, and Tom Cruise's eternal marriage vows. Peekaboo, they are bullies. They are bullies. Don't even bother with them, Aaron. Oh my God, guys, look, it went back to screen names. It went back to screen names instead of handles. I can finally see who everyone is. Julia O'Connell, love good responses to these hate videos. Mark Turry, these attack videos are so hacky. They are only made to scare members. George Massey, are Scientology taking tips from Mrs. J and Nora now? Oh, shots fired. George Massey, or is it the other way around? Indeed. Cliffan Ferguson. Hey, Aaron, I love your content. Longtime lurker. Thank you so much, Cliffan. Richard Francoeur, good to see you. Jon Lundeen wrote a similar email to me. He destroyed my relationship with my fiance behind my back, signing her up for the billion years contract. Wow, amazing. Marilyn, I have dreams. I'm in high school and my locker is jammed. I guess it's the same. Seriously, I don't have a lot of Sea Org nightmares anymore. In fact, hardly ever. But the only ones I have are waking up in the morning, going to staff muster, and then going to product conference and not having any of my stats ready and sitting there waiting for Jon Lundeen to get to me because he starts with division 1, 2, 3, 4, waiting for him to get to me and me letting him know that I don't have updates on any of the stats. It is the only nightmare that I still have. Okay, Richard Francoeur. And I can confirm that Lundeen is an aggressive man that does not give a shit about you when he has his product. Constance June, some of the videos are so ridiculous, they're funny. Acute Pumpkin Cloudhopper, these videos are so cringe. Arkansas Flamingo, did they wire his smile in place? I know, you're probably talking about John. Jessica LaBarber, it must be assigned punishment to have to watch these cringe fest videos. Ken's channel, good to see you, Ken. It would be funny to redo all of the voiceovers with Mr. Mackey from South Park. I re-went over what was needed. Guy. Rib guy. I had to ask a division head to leave the advisory council meeting because she was high. Did I mention this was at a Narcanon? Amazing. Richie Francoeur, I saw Sea Org members getting in real fist fights on the free wins. Yeah. Lydia Von Stretchclaw, yo, John, Aaron's product is great. Oh, yo, John, Aaron's product is great. 250,000, baby. That's right. I did finally surpass 250,000 subscribers. Thank you to all of you. If you're watching right now and you're not subscribed, you might think you're subscribed and you're not, but please feel free to subscribe. Now the goal is to see how fast I can get to 500. Someone asked me, do you get a new plaque for hitting 250,000? No. Nope. You don't get another new plaque until you hit 1 million. Will that day ever come? Probably not. But we'll give it a shot. Oh, you know what, guys? Before I get to the end of this video, and I have more starred comments to go through, but I just want to make sure I really don't forget. There's 2 things I do not want to forget to plug. And I'm sorry that I'm only doing this an hour and 45 minutes into the video. The SPTV Foundation is currently helping 4 people who are leaving Scientology. And let me tell you something. We need money. We have spent a shit ton of money this year helping people, and we've never helped 4 people at the same time before. We need money. We did raise a few thousand last night after I mentioned it in a video. Thank you so much to those of you who donated. Any of you willing and able to donate to the SPTV Foundation right now, please feel free to do so. Greatly appreciate it. Second thing I want to plug. I really want to promote the hell out of our protest on September 26th, the Friday of September 26th. And not just the protest. What I really want to promote as well is the after party, hangout, meetup that we're going to have afterwards at Prelude Sports Bar on Cleveland Street. Everyone is welcome. I am going to ask people who plan on coming to please try an RSVP to Erica. You guys know her as Definite Trouble Source, and you do not have to RSVP to come to the hangout meetup after party. We just want you to RSVP so that we can tell Tony at Prelude approximately how many people we're expecting so that he can staff appropriately. Erica's email is definitetoublesource@gmail.com. Just tell her who you are and that you're coming and how many people are coming, and we're going to keep a list. Those are the 2 things. Okay, good. Let me keep going. All right. It's me. Anna says, where is this video from? Is it from a documentary? No, this is from, well, the truth, I mean, it's on, I think you can find this video on Scientology's hate website they put up about me, but also Scientology has created multiple social media accounts for their different fake front groups where they tweet these videos, they post these videos. They've created like 5 different YouTube channels. They've created TikTok channels. They've created X accounts. They just post this stuff everywhere. So I happen to be pulling it from a YouTube channel. But yeah, it's not from a documentary. Okay. Asterisk me says, are there any declares SP groups in Ocala area? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. Sorry, asterisk me. I'm not sure what that means. Stardust. Thank you so much. Karen McCourt. Does Aaron get a YouTube plaque for 250,000? Okay, good. I answered that question. Thank you, Karen. Xenu Golf Club. Would they write knowledge reports on people outside Scientology, such as protesters, etc.? If so, do you think they'll be writing this type of report on you? No, they don't write reports on people outside of Scientology because it defeats the point of the report. The report goes to the ethics officer and it goes in their ethics folder so that they can be held accountable for it at some point in time. Mickey Khan, welcome as a new channel member. Matt Elliott, thank you for being a channel member for, oh my goodness, 17 months. That's incredible. Congratulations on 250,000 subs. Did you see my tweet on it? Matt, I don't think I did see your tweet. Did you tag me? I usually see all the tweets that I get tagged in. Lydia Von Stretchclaw, TR3'd. I'm pitching that one for work. I'm pinching that one for work. Yes. TR3 is to basically repeat yourself. I will repeat the auditing command. Do birds fly? And then be like, your face looks stupid. And you go, I will repeat the auditing command. Do birds fly? That's how TR3 is done. Training routine 3, one of Scientology's communication drills. Kim is blue. The lingo is like Rosetta Stone, Scientology edition. And now Aaron only needles Ricardo, the toupee, and Pat Harney. Indeed. I like myself a good needle. Northern girl, first time in her life. Lady, you're in a cult. This can't be the first time you had beef with someone. Karen McCourt, lady, you don't work with normal people. Super Stormy Day, excellent video, getting into the weeds. Thank you for being a member for 12 months as well, Super Stormy Day. Cynthia G, these are hilarious because they're making Aaron sound like a mix between Florida Man, half expecting them to say, and at one point he came into the building on top of an alligator with cut off jorts. Yes, indeed. Ben Bacon Bits, man, Scientology staff seem to behave like a bunch of 8-year-old children, just like their leader. George Massey, merch request. I'm with the big, bald, buff dude. Amazing. That's exactly what Nora calls me as well. Ren again. So do they always pick the pale, skinny guys to talk about the big, buff dude? Kelly BC, how long after you left did they make these videos? Oh, they only made these videos after I was on the Leah Remini show. Duck the Deplorable. I don't understand what audience these videos are for. Yes, I got to tell you, I am loving the fact that the screen names are back. I don't know what happened, but I am so happy. Duck again. So Ben, you watched a man push a woman and you just stood there? Who's the coward? Very good point. I actually totally missed that. You're right. Totally good point. Eric Rader, good to see you, buddy. I'm surprised they didn't bring up the times where Aaron used to throw full-grown cats at public in the academy while wearing nothing but a loincloth. Yes. Those days are behind me, though, Eric. I don't like to think about those days. It's a sore spot. Thanks for bringing it up. All right, guys. Wow. This has been an almost 2-hour video. That was unexpected. But anyway, this was fun. It was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not,